So today I'll be discussing the trade rumors that are surrounding Carmelo Anthony and the New York Knicks. It's been reported from multiple sources that the Knicks have been actively trying to ship Carmelo in an effort to overhaul their roster and begin a rebuild around their young star in Porzingis. So before I talk about the trade possibilities, I'd like to first give a bit of a recap on Melo's NBA career up until this point. So Carmelo Anthony entered the NBA as a champion after winning his first professional title with Syracuse and being named the MVP of the Final Four. With a mix of shooting, athleticism, overall offensive IQ, and rebounding, Anthony was selected with the third pick in the 2003 NBA draft by the Denver Nuggets, behind LeBron James at number 1, Darko Milicic at number 2, and before Dwayne Wade at number 4 and Chris Bosh at number 5. Ever since the beginning of Melo's NBA career, experts, fans, and critics alike have constantly compared him to LeBron, Wade, and Bosh, who as of 2017 have all shared in more success than Carmelo ever has. All three of those players formed a big three in Miami and went on to win 2 finals series during that stretch. Meanwhile, Melo has only ever made it to the conference finals once in his career, which was in 2009, where the Denver Nuggets, led by Carmelo, Chauncey Billups, J.R. Smith, and Kenyon Martin, were defeated by the rampaging LA Lakers. After being dispatched from the playoffs in the first round in the 2009-2010 season, suspicions around Carmelo Anthony's dedication to his team arose, and despite his talent, it would eventually become clear that his time as a member of that team was coming to an end. This was confirmed on February 22nd of 2010 as Carmelo Anthony's trade request was fulfilled and he was sent to the Knicks in a huge 3-team, 13-player blockbuster move. And immediately the pressure was on for Anthony. Many believe that the Knicks had given up way too many assets just to bring in a player of his talents. But despite the concern, Carmelo and the Knicks, who had also acquired Chauncey Billups in the deal, managed to grab the 6th seed in the reasonably competitive Eastern Conference that year. Although due to injuries and lack of overall talent, the Knicks were swept in 4 games in the first round by the eventual champions, the Boston Celtics. The Knicks also managed to make the playoffs in both of their next 2 seasons. In 2012, the team won over 50 regular season games for the first time with Carmelo, and also won their first playoff series against the Boston Celtics in 6 games, behind some great play from Carmelo. From the 2013-14 season onwards, the Knicks failed to make the playoffs even once, and were consistently finishing the regular season with subpar records. During these years, Melo still performed at his usual high level, but began to receive huge criticisms from many fans and experts for his lack of defense and also his offensive selfishness. Many people have stated that Carmelo shoots way too much and doesn't involve his teammates. Others suggest that Carmelo has never had the teammates around him to help him succeed. Regardless of this, the Knicks' recent woes have begun to take a toll on the New York faithful, who were forced to endure a horrible 2014-15 season in which the Knicks fell to a franchise-low 17 wins, 65 loss record. Some faith was restored during the 2015-16 season when Phil Jackson, former head coach of the Chicago Bulls and LA Lakers, had taken the role of the president of basketball operations, and also with the draft pick of Kristaps Porzingis. Although this draft pick was initially received poorly by many fans, Porzingis did go on to average 14.3 points, 1.9 blocks, and 7.3 rebounds in just his rookie season, and came second in the Rookie of the Year voting behind Karl Anthony Towns. Following this season, Knicks fans began to question which directions the Knicks would be heading in. Would they build a team around Porzingis and Melo, or would they look to trade Melo, gain some assets, and begin a rebuild around just Porzingis? This question was somewhat answered in this past offseason where the Knicks completed a trade to acquire Chicago point guard Derrick Rose, who, whilst being a huge talent early in his career, was struck down by injuries and almost forced to the sidelines for the rest of his tenure with the Bulls. They also acquired Joakim Noah in the free agency period to help bolster the defense in the front court and hopefully form a deadly starting lineup that would excel on both sides of the court. Unfortunately for the Knicks, however, after a decent start to the season, they have completely fallen off and plummeted to 11th in the Eastern Conference with a subpar record of 21 wins and 28. With most of the starting lineup staying reasonably healthy this year, the Knicks have managed to be an average offensive team, with great scoring contributions from Melo, Rose, and Porzingis, although it's the defense that's been really bad. Joakim Noah has failed to live up to his expectations in a Knick uniform, Derrick Rose has not been capable of defending opposing guards, and Carmelo's effort on the defensive end has left much to be desired. The Knicks have posted a perfectly average offensive rating of 108.2, which is good for 15th in the league, but on the defense, they've fallen to a well below league average 111.1, which is 24th in the league. This issue with the Knicks has brought many to the conclusion that Carmelo Anthony needs to be traded. It's become clear that Melo will never be a number 1 option on a contending team. By trading Carmelo, the Knicks could then look to completely rebuild around Porzingis and maybe look to re-sign Rose if he can continue to be an offensive threat and improve his defense. Whilst for Melo, he could look to move to a team of championship potential and finally silence the critics once and for all by winning a ring. So, the remainder of this video will be a discussion on the potential trade destinations for Melo, what the trades could possibly look like, and how these trades could affect both teams. Keep in mind that I'll only be mentioning the teams that I believe are realistic. Anthony holds a no trade clause on his contract, meaning that the Knicks cannot choose where they trade him. Melo will either stay a Knick or move to a team that he believes has championship potential. So the three teams that I believe are the most realistic options are the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Boston Celtics, and the Los Angeles Clippers. All three of these teams have players that will participate in this year's All-Star game, and they also sit highly in the standings of their respective conferences. First off, it must be said that I don't believe the Knicks will get much in return in the way of players. They should be looking at these deals as an opportunity to cut Melo's huge salary and bank up some high draft picks. And since I'm talking about draft picks, let's begin with the Celtics. The Celtics are in one of the more fortunate positions of any team in the NBA. They're already on pace to be second or third in the Eastern Conference, and they have a great roster that contains a perfect mix of veterans, stars, and youth. And what's more, they have the Brooklyn Nets picks in the next two upcoming drafts. And the Nets are bad, really, really bad, meaning that Boston's smart trade will yield them some very high draft picks. In light of this, the Boston Celtics have two choices. One being that they use the picks themselves and stack their roster with younger talent with the hopes that their championship window will stay open long enough for this to pay off. And the other option being that they trade one or both of these picks to bring in another star that will better their current roster and hopefully give them a shot at winning a championship in the next few seasons. With the Knicks actively trying to trade Carmelo, the Boston Celtics have an opportunity to acquire him without giving up many of their core players, as the Knicks should only be looking to fill small holes in their roster and be more concerned with the draft picks. Here is a potential trade offer that I believe would benefit both of these teams and also Carmelo. So here's the trade. New York receive Amir Johnson on a 1-year $12 million contract, Marcus Smart on a 2-year $3.5 million contract, Tyler Zeller on a 2-year $8 million contract, Brooklyn's 2017 first round draft pick, and Brooklyn's 2018 first round draft pick. Boston received Carmelo Anthony on a 3-year $24.5 million contract, Mindaugas Kuzminskas on a 2-year $3 million contract, and New York's 2017 first round draft pick and New York's 2018 first round draft pick. This trade right here will give the Knicks both of Brooklyn's first round picks whilst also giving up their own first round picks for the same years. This means that Boston will be able to acquire Anthony and also maintain picks for the next two upcoming drafts. The Knicks receive an expiring contract in Johnson, a backup defensive point guard in Smart, and also a solid backup center with Zeller for a reasonable $8 million a year. As stated, the Celtics get their star in Anthony and also pick up Kuzminskas, who has shown some good signs of being an offensive threat with his outside shooting and attacking off the dribble. This trade, in my opinion, seems to make sense for both teams and will definitely benefit Melo. Melo would most likely be pushed to the power forward spot and would completely open up the offense for Boston's starting five. The attention he draws from opposing defenders would allow Isiah Thomas to drive inside without drawing help defenders, and would also be an awesome kick-out option for mid-range and perimeter shots. In my honest opinion, if Melo goes to the Celtics, they have a chance at competing with Cleveland and making it out of the East. The talent on this team would be immense. The next team that Melo could be possibly traded to is the Clippers, who have a big three of Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, and Chris Paul, and have had that big three for several seasons now. And despite the huge talent on this roster, they've actually never made it to the Western Conference Finals, even during hugely successful regular season years. Many fans and critics put this down to the huge hole that the Clippers have had at their small forward position. Over the last couple of seasons, the Clippers have had a multitude of different players at this position that have all failed to deliver on their expectations. This list includes Paul Pierce, Lance Stevenson, and the current Luke Mbah-a-Moute. This is the main reason that I believe Carmelo would be a perfect mix with the Clippers. Whilst his defense is not great, the offensive opportunities for Melo would open up. Whilst he most likely would not be taking as many shots as he currently is with the Knicks, the quality of the shots he would get with the Clippers would be expectedly a lot higher. With Chris Paul's great play from the point guard position, and with the opposition defense having to pay so much attention to sharpshooter JJ Redick and the athletic duo of Griffin and DeAndre, it seems that Melo would get some really quality wide open shots, which he will convert as he always has. It has been stated by the Clippers organization that they will not part ways with their big three in order to bring in Carmelo, meaning that it would require trading him for some lesser talent. Keep in mind, however, that the Knicks should be looking to dump Melo's salary and rebuild around Porzingis. They should not be too concerned with getting a completely fair deal in this situation. This is really tricky and it could go many ways, but this is the trade that I believe would make the most sense. So, New York received JJ Redick on a 1-year $7.5 million deal, Wesley Johnson on a 3-year $5.5 million deal, and Austin Rivers on a 3-year $11 million deal. And the Clippers received Carmelo Anthony on a 3-year $24.5 million deal. In this deal, the Knicks acquire a great starting shooting guard in JJ Redick and some decent bench pieces in Wesley Johnson and Austin Rivers. Alternatively, the Clippers finally get their star small forward with Anthony and will hopefully make a deep push into the playoffs. Finally, and the most unlikely trade scenario in my opinion, is Carmelo to the Cavaliers. Similar to the Clippers, the Cavs do not wish to break up their big three, but are interested in acquiring Anthony anyway. Could you imagine a team consisting of Kyrie, LeBron, Love, and Melo? That would be insane and would most likely level the playing field between the Cavs and the Warriors after their signing of superstar forward Kevin Durant. The Cavs also have a variety of good role players that would make great trade pieces to facilitate a move, meaning that this deal could go so many ways, but here is my suggestion. So New York received Tristan Thompson on a 3-year $15.5 million deal, Iman Shumpert on a 3-year $9.5 million deal, Kai Felder on a 3-year minimum contract, and Portland's 2018 first-round draft pick that the Cleveland Cavaliers have acquired. Cleveland received Carmelo Anthony on a 3-year $24.5 million deal, Brandon Jennings on a 1-year $5 million deal, and Willie Hernan-Gomez on a 3-year $1.5 million deal. With this trade, Cleveland are able to improve their roster significantly and also fulfill LeBron's wish of bringing a playmaker to Cleveland. Melo would slot in seamlessly at the small forward or power forward position and would be the ultimate third or fourth option on an already elite offensive team. We have seen how good Melo can be on the Olympic team when he is paired with other superstars, and this would be his best chance to display those talents on an NBA court. Hernan-Gomez would be used as a crafty low post scorer off the bench for Cleveland, or he could be used in the starting lineup if they wish to play him at center. And as I said, Jennings would be a perfect fit as a facilitator off the bench. And for New York, they receive solid role players in Tristan Thompson and Shumpert, whilst also receiving a low investment, high reward player in Kai Felder, who was on a 3-year long minimum salary deal. To help even out the trade a little bit more, Cleveland must also give up Portland's first round 2018 draft pick, which would be projected 10 to 20 I would assume, and this would be an opportunity for the Knicks to attain a young prospect in the draft. So, we've come to the end of the video, and now it's time for me to ask you, what do you believe would be a suitable trade for Carmelo? Should he see out his contract with the Knicks, or should he be on the move? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to also like the video and subscribe to the channel to keep up with my weekly NBA videos, and thanks again, I'm out.